Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.
All right, welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Bleav in the Eagles. The Eagles are going to the Super Bowl for the second time in 5 years, but that's nothing to Joe Valerio, host of Bleav in the Cheifs. They go to the Super Bowl, it seems like, every single year. It's Eagles, it's Chiefs. Joe played for the Chiefs, but he's a local guy to the Philadelphia area. So this will be a very informative conversation for all our Bleav in Eagles viewers and listeners out there. What's going on, Joe?
Mike, how are you, buddy? So great to be with you and a couple of Bleav guys just getting here together, right? I've been doing the Bleav in Chiefs for several years now, covering the team, and always in my heart, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So this is football heaven for me. I mean, at one point when I was playing fantasy football in a league, my team name was the Kansas-Delphia Cheagles. So, because I have such an allegiance to both squads, and this is nirvana for a football fan. I'm really excited about this game.
So for the people out there watching or seeing this, Joe actually appears on my radio show weekly on Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. We just talk NFL. We call the segment Cup of Joe. Joe played, of course, with the Kansas City Chiefs during the Joe Montana days in Kansas City. So it's just good to kind of pick his brain on football. But now we have a matchup, all year. Joe will come on. He says, well, I hate to always talk about the Chiefs. Well, it's Eagles Chiefs, man. We got Eagles Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So let's quickly, what did you see? A lot of conversation about what Philadelphia did against San Francisco, and then when Purdy went out, that changed the game. I don't know what you think about how that game was going to go ahead of time, but man, the Eagles just look dominating on both sides of the ball up front. And to me, you might differ from me, but I don't know that Purdy staying in that game healthy would have made much of a difference.
No, because it was what the Eagles did to the 49ers defense that really mattered. And they were, gashing them with the RPO. And I could tell, it was funny when they were running the RPO, I could tell they were holding off on Jalen just a little bit because I watched the game pretty closely. I was actually at a sports bar in Miami, believe it or not, watching the game. And we were down there for work. And when I saw Jalen starting to run the RPO, I kept thinking, do they really need to run him right now with Purdy out and like looking pretty dominant? But they were running him to the outside. And they were kind of running him off shoulder, right? They were running him away from taking a direct hit or the fact that he could just step out of bounds or do a quick slide. He didn't run any real off-tackle RPOs, which was really smart. So they kept it in the game plan, but it was still enough to freeze the linebackers and the strong safety and most of the defensive linemen of the 49ers to really create some gashing hole. You saw some of those runs that the Eagles had where it was amazing. You could driven a truck through some of those holes, and that's what the RPO does. And Mike, I think as I look at this, like what they did against the 49ers, I think Purdy in the game, maybe it's 28-14, maybe it's 31-17, something like that. The Eagles still were going to dominate that game. You could just tell.
All right, so after watching what the Eagles were able to do that San Francisco defense, if you're watching from the Kansas City perspective, Joe, tell us what the personnel on Kansas City, how that matches up with Philadelphia does really well.
Well, I think the linebacking core of the Chiefs is going to need to be very disciplined. They're a pretty disciplined bunch, and they've got a solid defensive line that knows how to play against quarterbacks who can find the pocket within the pocket, right? So the Chiefs have developed a very disciplined rush in the way that they don't have they've got sacks. They certainly have, Chris Jones, we know, can get in there. We know that other guys will step up occasionally, but their defensive line has really learned how to play a very sort of methodical defensive front or rush against the quarterbacks that they have to play in the AFC. Guys like Justin Herbert, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, who are not quite as mobile or as run tendent, with a run tendency as Jalen is, but they hold up in the pocket much like Jalen does, where Jalen knows how to find, that I call it finding the pocket within the pocket. And that is what will give the Chiefs, or what they're going to have to work on. Because when I look at this matchup, I think these two teams match up really well in pretty much 90% of the areas. I think their defensive lines are both very similar and capable. Big dudes in the middle, guys who can pass rush, get after the quarterback. Their linebacking core, mobile, big, solid defensive backfield. A couple of injuries there for the Chiefs, so they're going to be nicked up a little bit, but they're still very young, right? A very young defensive backfield. Defensively, they're almost like very similar. I wouldn't call them mirror images of each other, but they're awfully close. Offensively, you've got two of the best lines in the league, if not the two best. It could go back and forth. Some people will say that the Eagles line probably has a little bit more of an advantage than the Chiefs because they're solid from tackle to tackle. The Chiefs have a little bit of a weak link in their right tackle, but you're still both top two, top three offensive lines. Running back.
I was going to say, Joe, on the offensive line, because people don't talk about offensive line. We always look at skill players, and now they got A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, and they've got Kelsey and Mahomes. But the interior offensive line play for the Eagles has really, I think, paved the way specifically in the two playoff games. But how that affects teams, because like you said, Chris Jones is fantastic, but they dominated a decimated offensive line. Are the Chiefs going to be able to rely on the same pressure that they got against Cincinnati against this offensive line?
Well, I mean, that's going to be their test. And I think that's where this game is going to come down to. It's going to come down to, well, I always like to say it always comes down to offensive line play because that's what I did. But really, to me, it's going to come down to how they react to what Jalen Hurts does. Because I think those are the two biggest differentiating pieces for both teams. Again, maybe the Chiefs have a little bit of a leg up with Travis. I mean, but Dallas Goedert's, he can play just as good as Travis Kelce when he wants to. So, and like I said, the running backs are very similar in their size and their stature. That nobody's got a Derrick Henry or a Walter Payton or a Barry Sanders or a game-changing running back, the Jamal Charles that's going to completely change the game. It's going to come down to the offensive line. And it's going to come down to how the Chiefs react to Jalen Hurts, because I think he is the key piece in this puzzle for the Eagles, because the Chiefs will have not seen anything like Jalen Hurts. Yes, they've seen mobile, air quote, quarterbacks like Josh Allen, Burrow, Justin Herbert. They've seen athletic, young, up-and-coming quarterbacks, but they have not seen anything like the RPO that Jalen has mastered over the course of these last couple of seasons, and how it holds everybody tight in there and allows the Eagles to kind of do what they want to do when they start to pause and hesitate on defense.
Joe Valerio, Bleav in the Chiefs. I'm Mike Gill. This is Bleav in the Eagles. Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl 57. Wow, who would have thought that these would have been the two teams? You got the Andy Reid going back against his former team. Obviously, Nick Sirianni started his coaching in Kansas City as well. He was in Kansas City with the Chiefs. But one of the big things about this game, I think about is the big play. And the Eagles tried down the field against San Francisco a bunch of times early until they really didn't need it anymore. But there were plays to be made down the field. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith made that unbelievable catch that really wasn't a catch. But the Eagles have those playmakers. How do the Chiefs secondary, do you think, line up with all the weapons the Eagles have in their pass offense?
Well, I mean, not that you're going full live one-on-one with your own team every day, all day, but I think if there was a team that was going to be prepared for what the Eagles' weapons have, it's going to be the Chiefs' defense, because they play against some really top offenses in the NFL. Obviously a lot of them in the AFC, right? They've been able to shut down, Burrow and the Bengals, hold them to 20 points. They got after Josh Allen this year. Didn't win the game, but they were able to at least limit the things he was doing. That they've always played close games with the Chargers and some of the weapons they have, and Justin Herbert, out there running around. So I think, and also just going against their own team day in and day out, and having to face Patrick Mahomes in practice, having to face the very diverse receiving core that the Chiefs have. The Chiefs defense kind of sees those players every day, right? They got to find ways on defense, to stop guys like Travis Kelce when they're running scout team and different things like that. So, I think this Chiefs team does match up pretty well against the receiving core. AJ Brown's he's probably a notch above what the Chiefs have seen as far as that receiver that literally can take you out of the game. But if they focus too much on him, Devonta figures it out, right? And Jalen figures it out, and then Dallas Goedert's popping around acting like a younger Travis Kelce. So it's almost like they're seeing the same team. Again, I don't want to beat this point up too much, but the thing that's going to be to the Eagles' advantage is going to be what Jalen can do and what they can do in the running game, and couple that RPO along with it. Because it's when I was coaching high school football, we ran the triple option, and I just know what a fit that gives teams. When you're not disciplined. So the Chiefs, the mantra of the Chiefs this week and the next week should be discipline, discipline, discipline. Because if they fall trapped to it, it's going to open things up, because there are some young D-backs on the Chiefs team that could get exposed.
Yeah, that would be something that will be interesting to see, that matchup. AJ Brown and Smith against the secondary here. When you, Joe, if you are, you played offensive line, you sat in these game planning meetings. What is Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid? What are they looking at this Eagles defense of where to attack it? What is the Chiefs area on offense that they want to try to attack on that Eagles defense?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to, Andy's historically like to go to the perimeter, right? He likes to go to the perimeter when he runs. He's got the jet sweeps. He will run off tackle. They haven't had a whole lot of success mashing the ball, right? This is not the 1990s Chiefs that I was part of, with Christian Okoye to the right, 250-pound Barry Word from University of Virginia to the left, like right up the gut. Like this is not happening. And that's not going to happen against this Eagles defense. They're too strong in the middle. Their defensive front is way too big to be pushed around. So I would not expect anything, out of the Chiefs to try to mash the ball and beat the Eagles up the middle.
Right, that's interesting. We have a local kid, Isaiah Pacheco. He grew up 45 minutes from where we are, played football in the same league where my high school is here. He's a violent runner. They just don't seem to establish him all that much.
Yeah, they try to get him going on the outside. You see where his big runs in the game against the Bengals were happening, where he was getting those, yards after hit, or whatever you want to call that stat, after that first hit. He was getting them on the perimeter. They're going to run him off tackle. They're going to try to get him the ball, swing him the ball out. And the Chiefs like to extend the running game, right? They're not a team that's going to just, hand the ball off up the gut, but tackle to tackle, 20 or 30 plays a game. They're just not going to do it. They don't have the backfield personnel to do that. They have the line if they worked at it, but they just don't have the backs to do it. So they're going to rely on extending the running game with quick outs. They're going to, probably be running a lot of jet sweeps. They're going to try to use the speed of some of these receivers. If they can get Kadarius Toney and McCole Hardman healthy, they're going to try to, run the jet sweep, get the, and they kind of run a, it's not with Patrick running. He's not going to be running the ball, but they do an RPO off of the jet sweep a lot, where they'll try to freeze some people with the jet sweep. And then, Patrick will pop the ball back and he'll look for Travis over the middle. In the passing game, the Chiefs they're an intermediate passing team, right? They're not somebody who's going to beat you deep. They'll take a shot every once in a while because Patrick has the arm to do it. But without the speed of Tyreek Hill, and without having him in the game, with McCole Hardman hobbling the last couple of weeks and months, they're not gonna be running these big double jets, double posts and things like that to beat you deep. They're gonna try to get you in that intermediate passing game, somewhere between 8 15 yards, high accuracy, low margin of error passes. Try to get, post Travis Kelce up like Shaquille O'Neal, in the middle of the defense by the basket, and they're going to post him up and try to get him free. That's where they do. They're very methodical. That's what I think Eagles fans will be looking at. Is they're going to be looking at a very methodical offense that's going to start a little bit slow, look for some weaknesses, and then start to expose it as the game goes on. That's how Andy has been for the last 5 to 8 years in the 10 years he's been in Kansas City since he's brought Eric Bieniemy on as his OC. They take a little time to heat up, but once they find that crack, they will take advantage of it, and they'll keep running it until you stop it. But it's definitely not going to be a running up the gut for sure.
That's our first look at Super Bowl 57. Joe Valerio is host of Bleav in the Chiefs. This is Bleav in the Eagles. I'm Mike Gill. Hopefully we can jump on again maybe next week and get another expository on this matchup because it's going to be fun. So many different storylines. But we wanted to get a quick hitter out there, get Joe's thoughts on the matchup from the Chiefs' perspective, and then we'll do more from the Eagles' perspective as well. And, of course, Super Bowl 57 will be here before we know it. All the storylines, they will all play out in Arizona. Bleav in the Eagles will be in Arizona, so make sure you check our channel out for more stuff from Arizona. We'll try to pop up as much as we can here. Like, share, rate, review, subscribe, get it out there, and we'll try to catch up with Joe one more time between now and Super Bowl 57. Joe, great to see you, man. Bleav. Hey, by the way, I go baby blue, dark blue. You went dark blue, baby blue. Good stuff.
We have our fashion designers coordinated us today, wanted us to look good for, a week before the Super Bowl.
Yes. Thank you, Bleav, for these nice reverse outfits here. All right, Joe. Good to catch up with you, man.
Thanks, Mike. Great to see you, man.
Joe Valerio from Bleav in the Chiefs. I'm Mike Gill. This is Bleav in the Eagles, and the Eagles and Chiefs will meet in Super Bowl 57. We'll have plenty more right here on the Bleav channel. Make sure you check back for more as the Eagles get ready for the Super Bowl.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.